Welcome to the Cult of Comics podcast. I am your host, Tyler Brown. I am joined again by my usual friends and, acquaintances, work acquaintances only. Co-workers only, and just the people that I happen to know through here. That's it. Just guys at the water cooler.
We're just passing through.
How's it going, guys?
If we weren't making bank on the ad revenue, I wouldn't talk to you guys.
My God.
Oh, yeah, it's so much money.
Yeah. We just passed 100 million subscribers.
Funding our comic addiction.
That's it. That's all we need on our Patreon. That's what it is. Patreon support. Pay for our comics. That's all we need.
Please.
That's it.
Our research.
Welcome to the Cult of Comics podcast episode, where we are going to be discussing some of the reviews and conversations. This is the Cult of Comics Corner, the book club version of the podcast, where we talk about the things that we read this week and have a little bit of a discussion about it. I don't know if we're doing ratings necessarily, but we're definitely talking about like ones that we preferred this week. And we're doing this following along with that same format of separating the news and solicitations and the actual readings themselves. So that way you can actually pick and choose what you want to listen to, what you want to watch. And we're going to start off talking about the thing I think that everybody was hyped about this week. As you both look confused as fuck at me.
I don't know if this was the thing we were most hyped about, but it's definitely different.
Which book
Thor
are you
and
looking at?
Loki.
You're talking about Thor and Loki. I was going to say Batman Urban Legends. Did you read that?
Are you looking at the wrong script?
Maybe.
He's not looking at either of them.
Scrolled up too high.
He's done his own order.
Yeah.
I did do my own order. I thought we were going to talk about Batman Urban Legends first for some reason.
Yeah.
First, we got Thor and Loki. What's the subtitle? Double Trouble? Was that it? Yeah, Thor and Loki, Double Trouble #1, written by Mariko Tamaki and art by Gurihiru.
Gurihiru. We're going to start off.
Here's the issue that I'm realizing what the issue is that Josh has a script and then you have a script.
That's right.
But
That's
neither of them have Batman Urban Legends first.
They do.
No, they don't.
Not first, but they're in there.
Yeah, they're in the order, but they're not first.
Well, what do you want to talk about first? You want to talk about
Thor and Loki, Double Trouble #1, written by Mariko Tamaki, art by Gurihiru.
Yeah.
Go.
Yep. You're in double trouble, Ty. Sean and I are here to put you in your place.
Prepare for trouble.
And make it double.
Penetration.
Ah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Go right ahead.
You have enough holes?
Do I have holes? Yes, I have holes.
Enough holes.
You've got 2 holes.
I can have 4 holes by the end of the day if that's what you're asking for.
Are you like
Okay.
Kim Jong? Are you like Kim Jong Il or Kim Jong Un where he doesn't have an anus?
Yeah, obviously,
Doesn't defecate.
I just
Jesus
recycle
Christ.
all of the waste inside of myself.
Exactly.
I walked.
Yeah. So let's talk about something more kid appropriate.
Let's talk
Thor and
about
Loki.
some comic books.
Some comic books, yeah.
Some comic books.
That was terrible. I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I end up sounding like I'm trying to do like a deaf person voice versus like trying to do a drunk person voice.
That sounds like a you problem.
It is a me problem. I'm embarrassed for myself. So this is rated T for tots.
Like tater tots?
I think so. They're Thor's looking like a potato. I don't know.
This is art by Gurihiru, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, it's very cartoonish. Looks
It's
pretty
a kid's
cool.
book.
Yeah.
Is it really?
I don't know why it's rated
Yeah.
T.
Yeah, I was gonna ask if it's a kid's book and it's rated T. I mean, the amount of stuff that I've played or watched that's rated T for teen, and then I'm like, oh, this actually is.
Yeah.
No, there's nothing.
There's no
in
reason
here.
this should be rated T unless that's like the lowest rating they have.
Yeah, because there's really nothing. Like, there's no violence. There's no
cursing or anything.
No, there's no.
It's
Yeah,
a
there's
pretty
nothing.
simple story. Thor and Loki introduce themselves, put up a sort of sibling rivalry in front of the crowd. And then Loki dares him to steal a lure.
A lure.
It's a lure.
A lure.
And Loki plays it, and they summon a dragon. That's about it.
Yep.
That's all that happens.
They summoned the Midgard serpent.
Yeah.
Talk to me about it. Like, tell me about what about this book was good, what was bad.
The art
Yeah.
is delightful.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
Very
Gurihiru,
cartoony.
who's very cartoony, very fun aesthetic.
Kind of reminds me of like Dexter's Lab, that kind of Gennady Tartakovsky art.
Yeah, this artist did a Avatar: The Last Airbender comic series with Gene Lun Yang, and it perfectly suited that.
Oh,
I
yeah.
like. This is the only. I think this is the only comic you're gonna hear me say this, but I like the lettering in this. I like the font choice.
It's got like the little, I won't say cursive, but it's got that sort of like slightly runic, maybe.
Like they literally start the comic off with saying like it's a world worthy of this gloriously refined font. And I agree.
Oh yeah, they do. I
font.
forgot about that. Yeah, that's good.
But I read this after reading everything else, and I had been pissed about the lettering and not pissed, but like I really disliked a lot of the lettering this week. That was like my pet peeve of the week.
Why do these words look like this?
Why do I need to bold every other word?
Yeah, I get that.
So William Shatner.
Yeah.
William Shatner does lettering, guys. Who knew?
Yeah, that's basically what it was this week. Everyone said we're gonna go ham on all the bolding of the
I
letters.
actually did notice that. Yeah, I don't know why.
Yeah, that's about it.
One little detail I want to point out is the maiden who gives the apple to Thor is actually a reference to Norse mythology. She is the goddess who hands out the apples that make the Asgardians immortal.
Ah. Yeah, I feel like there's some other reference in here.
On that same page, we've got a guy wearing a Mjolnir t-shirt.
That's funny.
It's got a little smiley face on it.
Yep.
Mariko Tamaki's been doing a lot of work lately. I'm kind of surprised. Yeah. Is this some of their better work or?
It's hard to say because it's aimed at kids, so it's very It's not telling some deep, profound story. It's just like a harmless.
Sure.
Yeah.
Loki threatens to turn into a snake and bite Thor's face off.
Okay.
That reminds me of Ragnarok.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So Loki eats the apple.
Yeah, he steals Thor's apple.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I actually laughed out loud at this bit. It's like, last time you dared me to do something, you dared me to join you in a race, and then you hypnotized me into thinking I was a rock. And then you just got like this little panel of Thor just curled up on the floor, like a blank expression on his face. It's just so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And then Loki's like, that was a lifetime ago, and Thor's like, it was 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm.
That banter, that kind of back and forth is actually really hard to do sometimes. But when it's done well, it really stands out.
Yeah.
I'll check that out.
The dynamic is a lot of fun in this. It's got like a sort of buddy cop type thing. And like at the end, when Loki summons the serpent, he's like, okay, well, anyway, I'm out. And Thor's like, no, you're fucking not. And like grabs him and it's like, you're helping me with this. You summoned it. It's your problem.
Yeah, this could have totally been like a very early story for Thor and Loki. Like it could definitely fit in with the the movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah, it's a lot of harmless fun. Sorry?
Recommended reading?
Yeah, I wouldn't super recommend it, but like I would easily recommend it. It's not a book. Yeah, it's not a book I'm like, you have to read this. Like this, it will change your life. Go read it. But like it's a lot of fun.
Okay. Cool. All right.
It's definitely opposed to all like the dark and gritty and angsty comics.
It was nice to have something a little different to open up.
It is really frustrating to have a lot of that same like dark tonal storytelling experiences over and over and over again. Like I enjoy having comic books, and I think I said this before, where superheroes are superheroes. If I'm reading a superhero book, I want there to be some challenges, obviously, but I also enjoy it when there's something that's pleasant.
You like some shenanigans?
Some tiddlywinks?
Light mischief?
What is shenanigans?
That was a beautiful accent. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And then shall we move on?
We could talk about
Yes.
Thor and Loki all day. Let's make it a Thor and Loki episode.
I guess
well.
we could talk about Rorschach number 6.
Yep.
Front and back.
I
like
love that
that.
cover.
Oh, it's a great cover. Like
Yeah.
all of the covers. have
All
been
the
strong,
covers are
but
great,
it's
yeah.
Very, very. Yeah. This is a very.
I think the previous cover was the better one, where it was the one where you had like the sun rise over like Vietnam, and it was sort of making the comedian's pin.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was definitely.
Oh, they really changed the back cover because that's a page inside the book.
Yeah.
I think they've all been pages.
They have all been that
Yeah,
way.
but the art is just slightly different. Like if you no, it's just kind of zoomed in a little bit because if you see the page, it looks more like a Rorschach mask when they zoom
Yeah.
out.
Okay.
So
I
written
love
by Tom King, art by Jorge Fornes.
Yeah, I love this. I thought this was the art styling on this stands out a little bit, not more, but it definitely stands out in a different manner than some of the previous issues. Maybe that's just me,
Yeah.
but
I think
like
because each page is a different setting, so I think it's really shown a lot of different styles, a lot of different like coloring techniques.
Sure,
This must have been a very hard issue to write.
it looks like it.
This is Tom King doing Tom King stuff.
But
No problem with the lettering here.
Yeah,
no,
with
I mean,
this
I would
lettering okay,
definitely say-
Josh.
Yeah, this one was okay. Nothing really jumped out at me.
This had
I
good
would-
lettering. The barcodes
would-
on
Yeah,
the back.
just the
It's a
story
perfect
is
issue.
just it
I would
drags on
actually
a bit.
say that the big thing for like the lettering in my argument is actually that when she is writing to Meyerson, that the lettering could be improved just a little bit, maybe just increased slightly because it is a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah, they italicize her writing compared to Meyerson's writing to show the difference between
It
the two.
reminds me of, there was a Batman story written by Kurt Busiek, Creatures of the Night.
Yeah.
And the whole story was told through journal entries from Bruce Wayne. And it's all written in cursive, and it's really impossible to read. Like it's a
frustrating
real
because
struggle.
It's I understand the decision to want to make that sort of personalization, and I think that actually adds a lot of flair to it. But I mean, if it detracts from the ability to read from it, it's a bit of a frustration.
Yeah, I'll see if I can
wanna
find a
say-
page and send you guys, because it is.
This page right here, and specifically this panel, I think is Jorge Fornes' best drawing of this character so far. Because I have not seen
Aiming
that
the
level
gun.
of detail with him before. It just stands out to me more. Like even the gun, the shape of the hand.
Yeah.
pretty good.
I love that. I don't know why. It just stands out to me a lot.
Yeah. And it must be really hard to like scribble down letters and make them just slightly incoherent. Like it looks
Yeah.
like a bottle of Jack Daniels and there's text on it, but you make it, just slightly blurry enough that you can't tell what it is.
Yeah.
That's an art form in itself.
I feel like when I was reading this, I was reminded of some of the color palette from a lot of like stories about the Midwest or the Southwest in specific. And I
It's got. What show was it or movie? Where was it? Breaking Bad, where there's just like a slightly different tone when they're in Mexico.
Yeah,
like
because
the
it's in New
filter.
Mexico, yeah.
Yeah. Like
Sepia
when
tone.
they go to Mexico in like a few episodes, like there's just like a
every
slight
time
filter.
they're
Yeah.
breaking Better Call Saul as well. If they're in Mexico, you can tell because it's sepia toned.
Yeah. Personally, I really like that little additional, just like artistic choice to add to that. I feel like this is the better issue that they've had so far. And I know that I said that about the previous issue, but this one felt to me like this could have been another one of those Tom King prose books, but this felt like
Yeah, there was a story flow to it. Like it did progress the story somewhat, gave us some background on his characters.
I mean, even the little details like about how like the lady in the elevator was having a conversation about Redford versus what's
About
his
the
face?
upcoming debate.
Yeah. Little things like that. Like those little pops, those little flares.
There's a lot going on.
Exactly. And sometimes that can be a really big like bitch. It can be something that can bite you in the ass. But this actually, this feels like a gift. This feels like the storytelling experience that I want to have when I'm reading something that isn't just this layer of I tell you story, you receive story. I want it to be those layers of I want to read some of the things in the background and to think about some of those characters, even if they're not important. I love that. I love that little detail to that. As Sean would say, this is Tom King firing on all cylinders.
Firing on all cylinders.
Mm-hmm. All. Yeah, so Laura and Will, call him Will.
Will Myerson.
Yeah. So we get their kind of how they came together.
Mhm.
They're writing back and forth to each other, lamenting on life and truth. And in
and
one
building
of his,
up a relationship between them.
Yeah. In one of his stories, I'm going to jump to like the middle here. He recounts being in the apartment complex where
Kitty Genovese.
Kitty Genovese is murdered, which is very
And
interesting.
Because she is the person who was murdered that caused Walter Kovacs to sort of fully become Rorschach.
Right.
Yeah, I think the mask came from a dress that was designed for her.
Yes. And then she was murdered and he went and got revenge for her death.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that Myerson then went on to become Rorschach, and they were both kind of born the same night.
Mm. Maybe he has been Walter Kovacs all along.
Did you notice the thing about Pontius Pirate and how they had mentioned that everybody was obsessed with pirates? Like everybody was,
as if big these days.
Yeah. As if that was this thing in the foreground of everybody's or background of everybody's like consciousness when it comes
if
to
you have real superheroes if you have superheroes in real life, you don't need superhero comics.
Right.
So maybe that's what they all fall back to is
because Will Myerson's based on Steve Ditko, who made Peter Parker instead of Pontius Pilate. You got like the alliteration there.
Right.
So in this world, instead of creating one of the world's greatest superheroes, he created one of the world's greatest pirates. And like even in Watchmen, we had like the tale of the Black Freighter. Was it? What was the story called?
Yeah, I think you got it. I think it was the Black Tail of the Black Freighter.
Yeah, they did a different story in before Watchmen.
Mm.
But it's still, at the high seas. And no, this one was set in Mexico or South America, kind of like a apocalyptico or something like that.
Okay.
Almost being like a Mayan sacrifice and breaking out and sailing back. If I remember correctly.
I feel like there might be something to that I'm missing. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to pick up on what like the pirate thing is. Like I think that Josh's call out about like having real life superheroes in the world would definitely challenge the desire to have superhero comics and everything.
Yeah, well, I think like pirates, like Pontius Pilate or was it Pontius Pilate? Who was it Buster Keaton played? Was it Buster Keaton? No, not Buster Keaton. I'm on a weird tangent.
What pirate?
Someone was, or it might be I'm very tired. Give me a second.
I think like Errol Flynn.
Errol Flynn is who I was thinking of.
Playing Robin Hood?
Sinbad, Robin Hood.
Oh,
that kind of.
Okay. Yeah.
But I think like his sort of era of like these pirate like actions, swashbuckling stories.
But that's back in.
But then we had like action comics and detective comics come in and sort of move the world onto superheroes. So this is kind of like if they never happened, then these pirate tales would continue to be made, and they were the sort of front runner.
They fade out in the 60s and 70s because there are real superheroes.
Yeah.
Man,
and now we are supposed to be present day.
See,
right?
I know stuff.
This is supposed to be like 2020, isn't it?
Yeah.
2018, maybe 2020.
No, they said 2020, I think, because they said that. Well, because this is still tied into the Watchmen universe of the HBO Max show as well. So, and that show took place in 2016.
Yeah.
Okay,
but
so
no, this is very different. There's weird stuff in here too. Like they're not listening to. He's got a cassette player in his car.
Well, yeah, but cassette players are going to exist in old cars anyways, right?
Yeah, but it's strange for a private detective to have a cassette player in his car instead of like modern
Yeah, he doesn't
technology.
have a CD player. Everything is just buttons, dials.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's
that's one of those
modern.
technologies that didn't progress. Like CDs
Everything's
just never
still
happened.
like they're still using wired phones. Like
Yeah,
technology
hasn't
didn't
changed
evolve
as much.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but we get to the end, and whose house was he going to investigate here?
I'm so confused about that part of the story.
Because he gets to this house, he's following some clues, and he knocks on the door, and Rorschach is inside, watching the news.
Watching the TV, watching the debate that's going on.
I don't think that actually was him, though. I think that that's been the Rorschach that's been following him, air quotes, following
Okay.
him. You know,
All right.
Okay,
So it's a
because
figment of his imagination is sitting on the couch, but
I had a
house is
weird
it?
theory because like the last thing we hear is this is Frank Miller, and then he gets to the house and Rorschach's there.
Yeah.
Is Frank Miller
Yeah.
Rorschach in this universe?
I wouldn't mind.
Well, Frank Miller was mentioned before in
Yeah.
whatever that seance group was that Meyerson was part of. That was like issue 1 or 2, I think. 1.
If they turn Frank Miller into Rorschach, this will be my favorite comic series ever.
Yeah, they mentioned some other names at the seance. It's still very weird that they keep bringing up Frank Miller.
Yeah, because I also brought up Jack Cole. Is he a name I should recognize?
I think that he was brought up earlier. As far as the house, I feel like they're just going to continue on with that in the next issue. I feel like that's what that's doing.
Stay tuned, whatever.
Yeah.
But he's following down this lead of somebody was at the
Jack
hotel.
Cole was the artist who created Plastic Man.
Mm.
But he died in 1958, so it might not be him. It might just be sort of paying homage.
Was he the guy that fell off the train?
I don't know. Give me a second.
I feel like
he got in his Chevy station wagon, went and purchased a rifle, and then shot himself in the head.
Jesus Christ. Wow. Okay. I feel like for a 12-issue series, there's a lot that's actually been happening in each individual issue. Like I'm impressed at how much he can fit into a single issue. Typically, it's like, you'll have a writer that'll have a story that's going to be this long, and they're just be like, yeah, I'll take my time with it, and I won't have too much happen.
You guys were predicting that there was going to be some big turn at issue 6.
I was just about to mention that. Like, I think this is a real Rorschach, and we've still got the clue from issue 1 about Kovac's fingerprints being found. So I'm thinking, is this a big twist, and that's actually Walter Kovac sat there?
Maybe.
I don't know if I would like that, but again, I think we've had this discussion where sometimes Tom King will lead you down a road, and you're like, wait, what? But then in the end, it works out really well, with the exception of Heroes in Crisis.
Yeah.
But yeah, with very surprised.
He typically does have like there will be like something that happens in issue 6 that sets up the following 6, and I think this is it.
Okay.
I can really only picture the Watchmen movie, but I think it happens in the comic as well, where Dr. Manhattan just, vaporizes Rorschach.
Yeah.
And in the Watchmen TV show, they show that he's just teleporting people. He's not actually vaporizing them. So maybe he did survive Watchmen.
That would be interesting, but at the same time, even in the comics, I mean, he was exploded and there was blood everywhere. So unless he vaporized, like he just transported him and then made it look like that, that would be kind of like a far reach in my opinion.
But
I don't remember it being that gory.
Stay quiet for so many years?
That's another thing I was going to say. Is that seems like something that would be out of character for him, because he's so adamantly pro-truth, like at any expense, at any cost. It just would go against the characteristics.
Tom King is telling a compelling story that I am very invested in.
Yeah, and Jorge Fornes is also doing artwork that I think is plays to his strengths.
Yeah.
I'm still surprised that he isn't doing more stuff with Daredevil, honestly, because I feel like he
got given the Rorschach book.
I mean, yeah, but at the same time,
artists can't do 2 books at once.
Apparently.
Well, like most artists will draw like a page a day. Some can do more than that, but that is the average.
Sure.
Jim Lee does like a page every week.
He draws very fast. I don't know if you've ever seen any of his Instagram stories live, but he does very fast drawings when he knows what he's doing.
But he said when he's doing like actual comic work, he does a page like every 2 or 3 days.
Good for him, because
that's but, like he's so slow.
Take it. I would personally argue that a person who is a master level artist, the way that Jim Lee is, if he wants to take 2 to 3 days for a page, then all that means is that he gets to add all of that additional extra little details that he wants to put into the book itself.
But at the same time, I feel his work is at the present time is weaker than it's ever been.
But that is also probably due to the fact that he's also in charge of DC now more than ever, and he has
exactly. So he's like, oh geez, I'm on a really tight deadline for this book. What do? I'm in charge. I'm literally the boss. Could I delay the book?
I know, right?
Yeah. But like he doesn't even do. He does like 6-page stories here and there, and it's like
it's not unlike what
he
happens.
Hasn't done a full. Like who? Sorry.
Joe Quesada. Yeah, I feel like.
Yeah.
When you put someone who is that talented and that master level in charge, and then
but
also
even before he became. But even before he became big at DC, like one of the head honchos, he was still not doing much stuff. He did Hush, he did Man of Tomorrow, and that was sort of it. Oh, All-Star Batman and Robin as well.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true. I mean, he actually was wearing a lot of hats at that time still, too. I mean, he didn't take over the publishing position until 2000s, yeah, but that was not that long after Hush, when that first couple of issues came out.
Fair enough.
You know what was a weird thing to see is, this is just a small tangent and then we can move forward, but the Joe Quesada's artwork in Brand New Day is still really good when you look back on it, but it was very clear that he was still rushing. It's just interesting to see like where an artist will make the decisions to like sacrifice some things over in others. Yeah. Because when it comes to his character work, it's still strong. It's still powerful. I mean, if you look at the Venom cover, the very famous Joe Quesada Venom cover #1, it's still amazing. It's still prominent. You can look at it at any point in time, at any era of comics, and still go, that's gold, no matter what. But then you look at some of the interior stuff, and the character book would be really impressive, but sometimes that background stuff will have to be sacrificed. I mean, these artists are given a time frame, so they have to go, okay, well, I have to do this, I have to do this. Jim Lee, not a lot of the time, does that. Like, even my small criticisms that I would have about Jim Lee's artwork, I recognize that he is at least a master about knowing what his time frames are going to look like now. I don't know what he's like. I'm not going to be the guy who's like, I know what his schedule is. I don't. But I would expect that of an artist at this point, I guess, especially someone of his age who is working the position he is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that.
The only thing I wanted to note was when he's, a penciler for whatever comic company he's a part of, at the headboard, you can see a Strange Adventures cover.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay.
Yeah. When they're all talking about being 19, when Mary Shelley was 19 and writing Frankenstein.
Right.
Laura's 19 currently, and then Will recounts being 19 and working as a penciler.
Yeah, that's totally the most recent #1 of Strange Adventures. That's fantastic. Good call out. I didn't even notice that. Okay.
Wait, which page? Sorry, I closed my copy.
I don't know what number. They don't put numbers on these things, but it's the one where he's a penciler. It's about 2/3 of the way through.
Where am I looking on?
Right up in this panel.
It's towards the end. It's like 6 pages from the end.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Right. Okay, well, on to Batman Urban Legends #1, and I only read the Chip Zdarsky story with art by Eddie Barrows.
Okay. So this one has a lot of writers and artists, but the Chip Zdarsky one also has a secondary artist. It's Eddie Barrows, and I can't remember the name of the artist.
Marcus Toe.
Thank you very much. I actually didn't really expect to enjoy this. because I feel like the compilation books are kind of like everywhere right now. Not to say that they're all bad. That's not the case, obviously, but I just didn't expect to like it as much as I did. I really enjoyed this. There was a lot to love about this.
This is the best that Jason Todd has ever been written, ever.
And as you have also said, this is also there's not been very many good interpretations of Jason Todd and a lot of his depictions, unfortunately.
Yeah, like I enjoy Under the Red Hood enough. Like I still think it's an entertaining enough story. I like the animated movie with Jensen Ackles voicing him. But yeah, the comics have left a lot to be desired from Jason, and this is by far the best he has ever been written.
I absolutely agree. I personally have some nitpicks with it.
Well, you're wrong.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Let's hear your nitpicks, and then I'll tell you you're wrong.
So one of my big nitpicks about when I find a writer, and I can't tell if this is an editorial choice to do this, but I really am bothered by when people want to interrupt themselves or get interrupted, and then they use and ... And I see that every single time now, and I feel like it's lazy, and I want to go in and I want to fix it. Like if I got a job as an editor, I would like make a note with a big red X on it every single time and be like, stop doing this. If you want to interrupt yourself, like there's different ways you can do this, or have like characters interacting with each other that can, everything else about it is still actually really good. I mean, you have a lot of like some cliche speeches, but as far as execution goes, it's well done with the way that you have Red Hood interacting with this very personable interaction. It felt the whole concept of him going around hunting for a drug dealer first kind of felt like a very special episode of Batman, from the 1980s.
Yeah.
But the way that it was done.
Yeah, and when he builds this relationship with this child, we're seeing a sensitive side of Jason Todd. He's not just this herder edgelord who uses guns.
Absolutely.
He is someone who's gone through trauma, and he's like, this kid is going to go through the same stuff as me.
Yeah.
Like, I need to protect this kid. And we're seeing like an aspect of Bruce in there as well.
Yeah.
Where he's like, this kid's gone through what I've done. I need to protect him. And it's interesting seeing that from Jason. It's interesting seeing him given a personality.
Yeah.
And an
actual personality.
Yeah. Some character, some depth.
Yeah. I think my favorite scene in this was when Batman was in the shadows listening to the two cops talk about the gangbangers initiating children into shooting bottles. It's a very obvious trope that's been done for relating to what a character's feeling, but that's that same rule of if you do it right, if you do it well, that's the important thing.
Yeah.
And that was well done. That was something that I read that and I actually went, ooh. Because what is Batman if not this problematic dude who initiates children into his war?
Yeah.
And that's the relationship there, is that he's not unlike some of those gangsters who kidnap kids and do that stuff. Obviously, he's not kidnapping those children. Like those are his kids in a lot of ways, but
he already finds them broken.
Yeah, and he sees in himself, like he sees in them what he sees in himself and what he had gone through their trauma. If it's not Jason Todd's mom having an overdose, which he relates to seeing that woman in a coma, it's Dick Grayson losing his parents to a murder in the circus, or it's seeing Tim Drake's potential to be a great detective by discovering who he was. There's different reflections of himself that all of them are just people that he's trying, the little boy that he was, and he's trying to fix. He's just trying to fix the little boy that is himself, which is good psychology for a story.
Yeah. And it's the first time we've seen that from Jason.
Absolutely. And I also thought it was interesting to have him have that conscious switch. Well, maybe not conscious, but that kind of subconscious switch between using rubber bullets and real bullets.
Until the end of the story when he uses real bullets.
And then he shoots him in the alleyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the interesting thing to me. I didn't think that this was going to be a 6-issue stories that are going to be compilations. I thought this was just going to be random short stories.
No, it's just a collection of stories that wouldn't sell enough to get their own issue, which is weird because the Jason Todd story is like 23. It's a full issue.
It's a full comic.
Yeah.
The rest of it is like the mini stories that are a couple pages. That's it.
Yeah. So I think they should have given Jason Todd his own book, and then done Urban Legends a little shorter.
Is this the first Chip Zdarsky DC stuff we've seen?
Yes. He did some artwork in Detective 1027.
This tells me that he's going to be doing something at DC in the future, and I think
he's already got a Justice League book lined up.
Chip Zdarsky?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. All right, cool. So, do you remember when Bendis did Batman Universe?
Yes.
I feel like that's the same thing. I feel like it's a trial period of like, let me test the waters, let me do a short thing and see how this works out. Because DC is like, we're DC. We've been around for almost 90 years. We got to make sure that you don't ruin all of our IP that we are ruining.
Yeah. But like this, we've had like the new editor-in-chief in charge now for a couple of weeks, like with their first, like, this is the beginning of their reign, like after Death Metal finished, that was still left over from Didio. And like, I've enjoyed everything DC has put out in the last couple of weeks. Every single book I've read has been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a few interesting things I want to note about this issue.
Please.
They mention A-Day, which is when Joker...
The Arkham
gassed,
Asylum.
Yeah.
They mentioned that in
when Joker gassed Arkham. And Scarecrow is presumed dead.
Yeah.
Oh, did we finally make it into Joker?
No.
No.
Oh.
They just mentioned.
I thought I zoned out too much.
No, they just mentioned the Joker attack in this.
And
also, second thing I want to note is Jason Todd's costume is fucking horrible.
It's terrible. This new design sucks ass. I just want them to go back to the helmet.
Yeah.
I still hate it. I'd be okay.
Yeah, I'd be okay giving him his new costume with a domino mask and something else, if they want to move past this Joker trauma story.
Yeah.
But this one with his like scorpion mask, it's not good.
Okay, so I was thinking about this actually after finishing Urban Legends. In my mind, when I'm thinking about what Batman, Red Hood, and Harley Quinn are, I mean, you can make the comment about like, it doesn't make sense to have Jason Todd be the Red Hood when he was killed by the Joker, who was the Red Hood. It doesn't make sense for Harley Quinn to be Harley Quinn when she's getting over being the Joker. But when you look at Batman, the entire basis of taking on the mantle of the Bat is because he was terrified of bats. So it's taking the thing that was bad and making it your strength. And that's the thing that happens with Jason Todd, the Red Hood.
Yeah.
And with Harley Quinn. Same thing. Same, but different. That's pretty much it. And that's what's made me okay with it at this point. I just want them to go back to the cool design that was badass, that when I saw, I was like, fuck, that guy's so cool. I also want to say the Stephanie Phillips story in this with Harley Quinn proves to me that she knows how to write Harley Quinn, how to write a good story. The artwork is fantastic in this. I felt like it was a very short story that proved it kind of served a purpose only to say, hey, this is the confirmation that Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy are in a relationship. But I actually am happy that they were actually confirming
Stephanie
that.
Phillips' future state. Fair enough. Okay. Stephanie Phillips' future state Harley Quinn is really good, and I want to read the ongoing bits. The art's by Riley Rosmo, who I really don't like.
I'm still gonna pick it up, honestly, because I love Stephanie Phillips at this point. I think she's a great writer.
Yeah, Nuclear Family #1 was really good by her.
You know what? You just reminded me. I need to pick that up. I'm very curious about reading that now.
Do it. How was the Brandon Thomas story? The Outsiders one?
That was short. I was very surprised by it. I mean, this is clearly another one of those stories that's continuing. Metamorpho has been like possessed or something, and Black Lightning and Katana are running away from the Yakuza in Japan. Black Lightning has to like reestablish his relationship with Metamorpho. It's very esoteric. It's very, very strange. And if you're a normie and you don't know anything about Batman and the Outsiders at all, like I've never read any of their stuff, but I at least acknowledge who these characters are.
Yeah.
It's very hard to know what you're getting into when this is a Batman book, and then get into that. You have no
How
idea.
was the writing?
I'm gonna start off by saying it wasn't god awful. I was confused, I think, by some of the placements, but as far as a storytelling experience, it was a success. I
Okay.
read it, I understood what was happening. I understood that there was a conflict going on between the Yakuza and the cast of characters. I understood that Metamorpho was somehow being utilized as a weapon. How that was done has not been established. I'm assuming that the future stories will clarify that.
Okay.
That
Because
would be my
I really enjoyed Brandon Thomas's Outcome Future State. Like that was one of my favorite Future State books. So I'm just wondering whether he's a writer I am gonna be interested in following in the upcoming years. But it's too soon to tell.
If you get the chance, if you read this and then you come out of that and you say it was just okay, I would say that that's not a testament to how he is as a writer, because it's very clear that he has an idea in his head of how this is going to end, and I can see that success playing out. I think it's just a matter of execution at this point. So I'm going to continue reading it, obviously. So we're going to determine how good that is from here. I would say that it's a short story to determine just how good it is.
Yeah.
That's my only real complaint.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Shall we move on?
Yeah, so let's move on to The Joker #1 by James Tynion IV and Guillem March art.
Josh made the joke that this is the month of March. It's
March month.
And March month, March Madness. Guillem March.
Yeah, March Madness.
Doing a lot right now. It's
now first things first, or you can finish your March jokes.
Oh. No, that was it.
Okay. First things first, this is a Jim Gordon book, not a Joker book.
Yes.
But he's hunting the Joker.
Yes.
I'm just gonna say it. This was my pick of the week.
This was really, really good.
This is absolutely good. Guillem March is not my favorite artist.
I liked most of his art in this issue, except for the last page.
Okay.
His artwork really suits the shadows and like the body horror stuff he was doing with Joker, like the sort of, I want to say like Immortal Hulk-esque, where it's like all these grotesque.
Yeah.
That's really funny that
I'm
you say
getting
that,
like,
that's what I was thinking actually when I was looking at that.
I was getting like some Killing Joke vibes. Like all the shadows and the long faces and whatnot. I think it's definitely trying to, I don't know, imitate, or pay homage to, was that Boland?
Yeah.
Boland.
Yeah.
Boland.
Brian Boland.
Yeah.
So as you know, and I've said this before, I've become a pretty big fan of crime comics now. And this is an example of that storytelling experience that I've really come to love. And James Tynion has shown that he has adaptability, that he can tell a storytelling experience that has some cliches without feeling like a massive cliche.
Yeah.
It still feels interesting. I haven't read a whole lot of Batman books that refer to someone eating a 17-year-old girl's face off and then trying to hand it to somebody. Yeah, I haven't read about... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it feels much... He said it's the closest thing to his creator-owned books he's done at DC. And I completely see that. It's not a straightforward superhero comic. It is this dark horror book that happens to be tied to Batman.
Absolutely. And I would say that this is playing to a lot of those strengths of darkness that Tynion likes to write about. And if you had asked me a couple of years back if Tynion was the kind of guy who was going to write something that was going to be spooky, gross, or weird, I would have said no. But now I can see that being such a big portion of how he tells his stories now. And I'm so happy to see that. Not because I want that in every single story, but because he does it in a way that's good.
Yeah. He is my favorite writer at the moment.
I respect that. I don't blame you at all. I probably would agree with you.
And he was my favorite writer of last year with his creator-owned books and his Batman stuff.
Department of Truth is my favorite thing that I'm excited to see come out every month. Every time it comes out, I'm pumped about reading it. I want to read it faster than anything else. Yeah. I'm very excited for his Black Label book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really like the narration in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's actually what I was going to say is it feels like that sort of noir narration
Yeah,
kind of
the
feel.
kind of Batman detective book you want.
Yeah, and he could have done it really bad because that's been done wrong multiple times. It feels very gauche. It
Yeah.
feels very trite.
But this
was
was something he pitched to DC, not DC telling him to do a Joker book, which means
That's
he had an idea for it. He had a passion for it.
As long as you can fit this into a day, you're good.
Which I gotta tell you, that little addition to making. Oh, I'm sorry. There's two things I want to add. A day, having that gallows humor comment about it being another day.
Yeah.
Love that so much. That's
it a
the
day.
spice in the meal that you're just like, lick your fingers good.
Yeah.
The other thing is that I at the beginning of this, I was really annoyed because the depiction of Jim Gordon here is gray. And then it was expressed
address it.
that, yes, thank you. Yes. And I actually have been thinking about this for years, since New 52, because Jim Gordon was a Marine, and when he went and wore the bat suit, he shaved off his mustache, trimmed his hair back down, wore the black and gold Batman suit, from the New 52.
That was it was a ridiculous story.
Well, that was a ridiculous story.
Yeah.
But they still had him have red hair. They aged him down.
Yeah.
Like they do for a lot of these characters, and I don't want that to be the case. For him to say, Barbara has recommended that I dye my hair.
Yeah, because
I've been
they
thinking
didn't want
that for
him.
years.
He had been
it was
dyeing
to
his
hide
hair
his
and he
age.
just stopped.
Yeah.
Because he's no longer a
What he
police
says.
officer.
Yeah.
The dyeing his hair was a way of like hiding his age from the bad guys so they didn't see him as an easy target.
Yeah.
Which it does make sense.
Can you guys fill me in on some stuff?
Sure.
So this
I can
A-Day
try.
thing that happened, I saw that play out in Infinite Frontier Zero.
Yeah.
Did this happen at the end of the Joker War? Or
No.
is everyone
No.
just referencing those pages from Infinite Frontier Zero?
All Infinite Frontier.
In Batman 100, we saw Joker go into Arkham Asylum and sort of taunt Bane, and he was like, "You fucking idiot!"
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you could have destroyed Batman, but no, you like fucked up your invasion of the city, referring to Tom King's run. But
Yeah.
we didn't see him gas it. Like Bane was still alive at the end of that story.
Yeah, because the stuff from Infinite Frontier Zero seems to spiral out to everything.
Yeah.
Those couple of pages, you guys were just talking about urban legends and then mentioning it there. We see
that very
Mahoney
much
being
did
treated.
set up like the Batman story.
Yeah.
They talk about Bane dying. They talk about Jonathan Crane being presumed dead, even though
Which he's
Clearly
Scarecrow's in the Bane Batman book at the minute, so he's clearly not dead. But Bruce
he's in
thinks does. Yeah.
106.
So
and
is Bane back, or is
Well,
somebody
that's
else?
something I
Bane?
want to talk about.
Are you thinking the same thing I'm thinking? Trench coat.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
Bane died in Infinite Frontier Zeros, but however, he's on the front cover behind Joker, looming over him.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have this big, bulky Dave Bautista looking fucker in a trench coat and scarf.
Okay. I was thinking that might have been like Talon or something, whatever his stupid name is.
Far too big. Talon's he was a circus acrobat.
Or whatever the hell the guy's name is. Just a different type of Bane sort of dude. Like in the Justice League comic that we saw. Whatever the fuck his name was.
Do you guys remember Resident Evil 2?
With shit, what was that guy's name?
Tyrant.
That's
what this makes me think of. Like fedora, big trench coat, big bulky dude, makes me think of Tyrant.
Yeah. It's just like the fact that Bane is on the cover.
Yeah.
Makes me think he's the trench coat.
And they're going to Belize.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a complaint I got about this book. Guillem March's art works well when it's dark noir settings. And the page of the artwork I didn't like was when it was in sunny Belize.
Yeah.
It
didn't work very well.
I think that's kind of weird because I liked Carmen that also came out, and that's all, mostly sunny.
Yeah. But the artwork in Carmen is drastically better than the art in the Joker book.
Yeah.
Maybe he was rushed.
Yeah. There's an advertisement in here. Infinite Frontier, Batman, Superman, number 16. That looks like this lady and whoever this, Bane looking guy are going to appear in that. So this is like
set in different Earths. It's not set in the main Earth.
Oh, okay. Well, it looks like the lady and the guy from that approached Jim in this.
Kind Jin
of.
Lun Yang did a AMA and he said it's taking place on different Earths and like it's going to be focusing on like the golden age Batman and Superman.
Fair enough. The only other thing I really wanted to comment on was this art, this page right here, when they're at James Gordon Jr.'s grave, and he's just being haunted by the Joker.
That was so good.
Oh, it's so good.
It's all in his head, all the different things that are haunting him.
Also, 2 pages before this, we see the mutants from Dark Knight Returns mugging someone on the subway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and there was also... I forgot that there was a punchline backup.
The art in that is actually really good, too. It was interesting to see the combination of writers write that the way that they did.
I didn't like what they did with the Royal Flush Gang.
They
basically, like, Suicide Squad Jokerized her.
I think that
she doesn't have his damage written on her forehead.
I think the thing that I can speak to in specific that I don't like about Guillem March in particular is I feel like when he draws women, it's very it's extremely sexualized.
And that was the comment I was going to make about Carmen. Oh, not that it's sexualized, but he's definitely studied the female body,
especially the chest area and the hip area.
It's dramatic. It feels
because he did a. Oh, he tried to get Batman and he tried to get Bruce and Selina naked in one of his Catwoman issues, and editorial were like no, so he just sort of recolored the nude bodies to look like they had clothes on.
Well, it's a very famous sex scene between the two of them in that Batman stuff, but again, it's not that he's a bad artist. Like, he very clearly is a good artist. It's just very strange to me that he chooses to draw the characters the way that he does, because it's very sexualized, and then the men look sick and then predatory, and it's a very uncomfortable art style. And maybe that's intentional. Maybe that's less of an issue with me, or less of an issue with his art and more of an issue with me, not understanding that his intent behind his art is supposed to be discomforting. In which case, he is succeeding in his style. I personally find the combination of something being uncomfortable and sexualized as very troubling, but I also recognize that he does good anatomy, he does facial expressions well, he does good mechanics. There's just a lot of the time that when he draws Batman, for example, it's a lot of the same very tired, weirdly hulking, muscular.
Yeah. Well, his art style changes between, like, the art style in Carmen is much different than the art style that he's drawing here. Like, here it looks like he's really trying to draw inspiration from Ballin, but in Carmen it's a really different art style.
If you just type in Guillem March, the first thing that pops up for the art selections is pictures of him drawing Selina Kyle naked.
Of course it is.
So, I'm really enjoying this story.
This was so good.
I like that they're addressing the things that I've been thinking about within the Batman universe for so long, and this.
I like the idea that you've just been having like sleepless nights, just like Jim Gordon must be dyeing his hair, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Listen,
babe, wake up.
I literally will lay awake at night, wake up and have that thought in the middle of the night. I will have those shower thoughts, and I just straight up wake up and I'm just like, God damn it, why do they do this? Because I'm a fucking nerd. I'm a fucking picky nerd, and that's what I am.
What does your girlfriend see in you?
She literally calls me a picky nerd.
Good.
I don't know what she sees in me at this point. Especially with my magic card collection now. Now she's like, what the fuck? She literally went, oh no, when I came home.
You went full nerd. Never go full nerd.
I did. Anyways, I guess we should move on to the next book.
Superman number 29 by Phillip Kennedy Johnson and art by Phil Hester.
Full disclosure, I didn't get the chance to actually read this one.
God damn it.
No. I want you to talk to me about it still because I want to know because I'm gonna read this as soon as we're done here.
Why didn't you read it?
Because I literally had I got a gigantic stack this week of stuff.
What were you doing before the podcast?
Reading.
Okay,
You
what were you
could have
doing?
spent
What were you
that
doing
time
yesterday?
taking a shower to
Reading.
read.
Reading in the shower.
What did you get up to yesterday?
Rorschach. What's that?
Your life
did you
does
do
not
yesterday?
revolve around this podcast. What are you doing?
I know, right? God, I'm such a failure. You know what I was doing yesterday, Sean? I was waiting for you to hop on, and then you said you're too sick to do the other.
Okay, Superman. It is a story of John and Clark fighting some aliens that came from outer space through a wormhole breach that was created by Amanda Waller.
Fuck you. Tell me how good this is. I need to know.
Not as good as Worlds of War, but better than House of L.
You didn't like House of L?
I did, but it was weaker than Worlds of War.
I mean, okay, yeah, I won't argue with that.
Yeah. This I really like, and like it continues to show that Johnson understands these characters and what they represent. But we basically, Clark gets injured by one of these aliens through the wormhole, and he realizes that these can hurt him.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda Waller has set all this up, and she's like, these can hurt him. Yes. And John realizes these can hurt him. And they manage to get things back through the wormhole and close it. And Clark tries to bond with his son, and John gets really upset and sort of has a bit of a breakdown to him. He's like, people always say, like, I'm going to be Superman one day, but like, I don't want to be like, you're Superman. I can never live up to your legacy.
Right.
And like, it's a really emotional scene. And then he's like, Dad, I'm from the future. Next time that wormhole opens, don't go to it.
It's like some Back to the Future, Marty McFly, Doc Brown stuff.
I have to tell you about your future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm obviously going to read it because Phillip Kennedy Johnson has been one of those hot writers we've been on right now.
Yeah, but yeah, it was emotional. Like we have a line, your time's almost over, Dad. I can't stop it, and I'm not ready for you to go.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the issue ends with the wormhole reopening.
Oh no.
And Superman flying off to stop it.
I'm in danger.
I'm in danger. I will have you know, I might actually have to go pick it up physically now, just because you said that. I
was planning on reading it digitally because I was like, I need to limit my collecting. But Worlds of War just blew me away so much, I have to pick up that beauty. Phil Hester's a weird choice for art because his art's very stylized.
Yeah.
It's kind of like...
It makes me think of the 90s Dan Jurgens stuff.
It reminds me of Michael Avon Oeming mixed with someone else, Ed McGuinness.
I would like that. I think I would really that's a good selling point.
I like it. It's just a very unusual style, and I don't know if it fits the story, but I really like it.
That seems to be the case with some of these comics lately. You're like, where some of the artist choices, I'm like, but why? Why this one? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like for the Green Lantern issue 12, I just finished the last issue with that, and I read this entire series. I've been like, but why? The whole time.
Yeah, but the art is the reason to read that series. Grant Morrison's writing's great, but like the art is next level.
Let me put it this way. When you go back and you can argue and contest about how good or how bad Morrison's writing is on Batman. For the main
I loved
story.
his Batman run. I loved that run.
No matter what, like you can argue about that back and forth about that, but there's
if you don't like that, you are wrong.
I don't like it.
Morrison's Batman run you don't like?
I'm dead serious. I'm not even joking. Like the only parts about it that I enjoyed, I'm not okay. So here's the parts that I enjoyed really quick before we go into this next part. Is the offshoot weird characters that are like the Hispanic, like Domino Mask, Zorro looking motherfucker, like where that collection of heroes comes together and then they form Batman Inc. I loved that. That was great.
Okay.
The Damian Wayne storyline, great. Everything else about it was just a weird fucking choice. And there's one issue in specific that Grant Morrison did where it's just prose and really bad Joker art. And that
like the weird CGI
specific-
models.
Yes.
Yeah.
That specific issue is what I think of every single time that I think about Grant Morrison. And that's what I thought about this entire time with this Green Lantern stuff. Liam Sharp is a good artist who experiments and does some very bold things.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that these aren't the same stereotypical superhero stories, but there's so much experimentation in this that some of it doesn't translate.
Okay.
And that's an unfortunate circumstance.
Batman R.I.P. was great.
Sure.
I'm glad we're agreed on that. Or is that a sure, like, I don't have the energy to disagree with you?
I'm happy that we don't agree on everything because I feel like that would be a boring show.
Yeah.
But I think that we should save time for that.
At least you don't quit the show because we have different opinions.
You guys take over. I'm done.
You don't like Snyder, head.
Smack. Anyways, shall we move on?
Yeah. This issue is really good. Go check it out.
And Green Lantern was a very interesting experiment. So
I've now got all the issues physically, and I'm going to binge read it all in one go.
I'm very curious to see what you think about.
I read the first 12, and then I picked up Black Stars, and just never got around to reading it. And then I was like, I'm just going to read this whole thing when it's done.
I really enjoy the Black Stars stuff. Again, it's just a very different approach to storytelling.
Okay, Wonder Woman 770 by Becky Clooman, Michael Conrad, and art by Travis Moore.
I'm really not
Travis
even joking
Moore.
when I say this. I'm very curious about how you guys thought about this. I need to know.
I like it. Yeah.
I really liked it.
Tell me.
We get a very relatively chill Wonder Woman. She doesn't need to have the weight of the world on her shoulders, and she doesn't have to represent anybody but herself.
Right.
Yeah, she has amnesia. They're doing an amnesia arc with Wonder Woman. But this is really good. She wakes up in the middle of a battlefield. And this guy's like, come with me if you want to live, basically. Reaches out his hand, pulls her up.
Yeah.
And then she's like, where am I? And he's like, welcome to Asgard.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will be your guide.
Yeah.
It's better than what it seemed like from the cover. Like you see the cover and it's like, oh, she's been transported 1,000 years plus back in time for some reason, or she's living a past life. No, this is just her living, in the kind of afterlife, being reborn every day after battle and partying. There's
a battle every day and people die, people live, but like they all just wake up again fine, or still dead, but fine, at like a banquet feast thing.
You know, it's probably for the best because we only find them when they're dead.
That was a good comment.
Yes. So she is without her powers. She's just, a regular human.
Yeah, I loved the bit where she's like, she doesn't have memories, but she kind of has a feeling she had powers and and she's like stood on a cliff and she's just like, she sort of hops. And she's like, in this land, there are new rules because obviously she can't fly now.
Yeah, it's like being transported to the Savage Lands or something.
Yeah. And we get we have a little squirrel lead her to Yggdrasil, the world tree.
Yeah.
And the tree is dying.
Yeah. I gotta look up Ratatosk at some point.
Ratatosker?
Ratatosk. That's the squirrel.
Yeah, it's a famous world tree squirrel. It used to harvest the fruit and the nuts from the tree, bring it down to earth.
Yeah. So why is this the most powerful creature in the realm?
So there's some arguments about the squirrel god between different things. Within the recent Magic the Gathering sketch, they actually
nerd.
I won't go too far into it, but there's some argument about like how the messenger is one of the most powerful creatures in existence in the realms. That's all I'm going to say on it.
Yeah. Doesn't really go into, why the tree is dying or whatever. We'll get into that mystery later, I guess.
Yeah, but she gets called away for the battle of the day. Also, Thor shows up.
Odin.
Was
No,
it Odin?
sorry. It is Thor. My bad.
But it's classic Thor, not Marvel Thor. He's got like a ginger
The
beard.
redhead. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's riding a frost giant or an ice giant.
Yeah.
Whatever they're called. Yeah, and the battle goes. Wonder Woman dies again and wakes up. But when she
She's been
wakes up,
given
her friend is not there.
Yeah, she's been given an enchanted sword. There's bits of magic. Everybody has their own ability they need to figure out.
I'm confused about something here.
Yes.
You said that they're in Asgard right now, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But they're talking about Valhalla. Valhalla is the battlefield where you never die. So that's interesting choice to make Asgard the battlefield. Wait, that's not.
I guess Valhalla's part of Asgard.
No, it's the Ascendant secondary
yeah,
part.
I did think the same thing. Like Valhalla's the land of the dead, not Asgard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe because Asgard's a more recognizable name, editorial will like just shift it a little bit. People never know.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, but she goes searching for her friend who was lost on the battlefield, and I don't quite understand what it is. He's like
the world is dying.
Yeah, and he's like a lost soul on the battlefield now. He can't the
power to resurrect everyone is fading, so he's kind of caught in between nothingness and this. And the squirrel basically says, like, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Right.
You know, I'll help your buddy if you help me restore this world.
Yeah. Then we get a backup story of young Diana.
Meh.
We get an appearance from Jumper, Wonder Woman's pet kangaroo, who you may remember from Tom King's Batman run being mentioned. This was a weird backup story because it was very kid focused, and like if you read the target market for this story doesn't match the target market for the first story.
Yeah,
which is very strange.
And this is for this is only for US ages 13 plus. So
yeah, but still the last story is very childish. And like even if the first one's like teens, this is
I don't know. I want to know who this person that's just like not T-posing, but they're basically just like this
just
the whole time.
Posing the whole time.
Is this in the backup or the main story? Sorry,
the main one, the black and white memories, like when she's
dead
and
we didn't mention every time she dies, she has like some flashbacks of a figure speaking to her.
Yeah,
trying to beckon her. They're like, you need to remember, Diana, you're an Olympian. You don't belong here.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of is like Dark Side, but that doesn't make sense.
They mentioned the sphere of gods.
Yeah, at the very end.
Maybe Zeus.
But is he? Or maybe it's. I don't know. I got to go back and look at World of Wars. Maybe that's the pose that Superman has when he's chained up and brought back.
But
I'm looking at the book right now, and I'm kind of confused about that.
I don't know.
This is an attractive story, I gotta say. Like I'm still finding Becky Cloonan's storytelling to be really good, and also the art's really good.
Travis Moore is great.
Fantastic.
His face is beautiful.
I saw some of the advertisements for this storyline, and it looked really rushed, really flat. That's not the case with this. This feels very strong and very appealing to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll definitely stick around for at least this arc until she gets out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the writers have said they've got plans for Donna Troy and Cassie Sandsmark later on.
Oh, okay.
They haven't been forgotten about, fans, don't worry.
I'm confused why she didn't sleep with this dude, and they said that's because she's a woman of honor or something. And I'm like, I mean, I guess is that big of a deal if she sleeps with somebody?
You're dead. You're not going to have kids in the afterlife.
They got drunk and she woke up and she's naked in bed. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if she's drunk, I mean that's probably a different thing, because then consent.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Okay.
But that's going to be every night.
Yeah.
I'll be reading it.
I also really like her Norse outfit armor.
Yeah, it's really. They should be doing this way more. They should be having.
She still has kind of like
visiting different gods,
the W
different
on her head.
I love that.
Yeah, she's still got the tiara.
The tiara she's wearing.
If anything, they should be having her like going out and fighting and challenging different gods and demons from different mythos all the time. That should be.
I'm hoping
maybe eventually.
I'm hoping we're going to get her exploring different pantheons of gods. Like, I want to see her deal with Egyptian mythology.
Yes.
Tie in with the Wonder Girl book and explore South American Aztec mythology.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that wraps us up for the week. Oh, we've got a few shout outs to go through if you guys want to take it away.
Sure. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first then.
Silent.
So I read Proctor Valley Road by Grant Morrison, and I don't remember the artist. Where is it? There. So it was co-written by Grant Morrison and Alex Child, and the art is by Naomi Franquiz. And this does have a very Stranger Things vibe to it. Like there's a it's based on a real road that's supposedly haunted. Ty's like, wait, what road do I live on? The art is really nice. It's kind of a looser version of Nick Darrington art, I'd say.
Okay.
But like with like similar sort of faces and stuff, but with much looser pencils. And with this group of girls sort of taking this group of boys on like a trip to this road, and they're trying to raise money to go to what concert were they going to? Janis Joplin. Because it's set in like the 80s or 90s.
60s.
60s. I don't know. I'm young.
Yeah. Does it feel like a Scooby-Doo episode?
No, it's darker than that.
Okay.
Like we do see some people get like ripped apart and stuff. Okay. And I found it a little hard to follow in place. Like I did have to go back and reread pages because
a Grant Morrison book, it might be a little hard to read, really.
Like I thought this group were together, and then like it was like, oh no, they don't actually know each other. And I went back and I was like, oh, okay, that's like they just sort of joined the group, and it's just very weird. A character's brother shows up for like 2 pages, and yeah, it's good. I really enjoyed it, but it was just a little hard to follow in places.
Sure. Okay.
Because I didn't know the relationship between these characters, and it didn't really explain it.
Right.
But yeah, it's interesting setup. I think it's a 5 or 6 part story.
Cool.
But yeah, strong start. Beautiful art.
All right.
Wait, did you say 60s for Janis Joplin?
60s, 70s.
70s.
Yeah. Okay, because one of the kids is wearing a Dark Side of the Moon t-shirt.
So late 60s, early 70s at that point. Yeah. Cool. I don't know if they made t-shirts for Dark Side of the Moon back in the day. That's a historical inaccuracy that I will nitpick.
Anachronistic.
I also read Redemption #2 by Krista Faust and Mike Deodato Jr. Okay. And it was stronger than #1. It's a fun story. Very actiony, but I enjoyed it.
Okay.
And I think that was it for the week for me. Oh, Daredevil as well, which is still one of the best books going right now.
Cool. I do want to hear more from you in the future about this Daredevil stuff because you are very passionate about it.
Read it. Okay. Go read it.
I'm not that far behind. I'm only about 8 issues behind. So if I can get caught up on that, I'll just do that, I guess.
Yeah.
Josh, anything you wanted to call out before?
Yeah, sure. So we said it's March Madness, another book, art and written by Guillem March, Carmen. She's I guess a kind of grim reaper. Somebody dies and they're sent to deal with this person in their, spirit that's left. They talk about, this is the location, status report, code red. So she's sent to deal with this, soul that's left their body. We've basically followed this girl's life, and she commits suicide. She's sad and depressed. And at first, I couldn't tell the two apart because Carmen's got this pink hair, and the girl that committed suicide, she's got this kind of off pink, almost salmon colored hair. They're very close.
How
Both
could you
have,
not tell them apart? One's dressed as a skeleton.
Yeah, well, I thought maybe like this is their, future self guiding their past self kind of
Okay.
thing. I don't know, but it's a different person. This girl committed suicide. She slit her wrist. She's naked in the bathtub. So she's naked for the rest of eternity.
Mm.
Guillem March is really good at drawing the female figure. Some people, they draw women and they're anybody sitting down and they don't show, their stomach just kind of jut out or anything, they got just a flat stomach, even when they're sitting kind of thing. But for this, they draw it like you would see a normal person just sitting down naked. So there's a lot of attention to detail. This Grim Reaper is kind of irreverent, has a, sense of humor. Doesn't really give a lot of straight answers. You got to really get that out of her. She's like, death has its own rules. You can make things look different for, a split second. The door was closed the entire time, but I made it look like I opened the door. And they go out, they adventure. She's basically like, you can fly if you want. You
can fly. You can fly.
Yeah. The girl learns almost immediately how to fly, and she basically flies off above the rooftops. And it feels like she's just kind of guiding her, showing her the ropes of how to be dead. But it kind of feels more like this might be episodic, focusing on different deaths. And this girl I don't know if this girl is going to appear maybe later on. Seems like, she says, enjoy it while I go take care of another problem. Like, we're going to go focus on somebody else that has died. It's going to be kind of like Ice Cream Man, where, Carmen is the central character and is going from story to story.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
I was planning on reading it, but I just didn't get around to it.
I recommend it. It's only like 4
it's a 5,
issues.
I think.
5, yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Cool.
This was the final issue this week of Wolverine Black, White, and Gold. Don't pick it up.
Nope,
It's
not
great.
gold.
No, this is the one. I think I read this one first, and I got so pissed off about it because
How was the lettering?
Yeah. No, I got pissed off at the lettering for Deep Beyond. That just drove me insane. The stories in these aren't great. We get a fight between Mystique and Wolverine. There's, this panel right here, that like silhouette, just minimalistic art is just fantastic.
I like
that.
Doing a flip through the air. But the rest of the art's just all right. Where was it? I was looking at the credits for this, and instead of doing like the color and the art, they credit people by art and reds because it's black, white, and red.
Like when they credit someone as art, it's typically pencils and inks together.
Yeah, but instead of saying they did colors, they just say reds. Or for
that's funny.
Or for the middle story, it was credited as reds and tones. The middle story, facing off against the Reavers, meh. It sucks. The Reavers suck. This fight, Wolverine is just bleeding out in the ocean. He's fighting off, great white sharks. So that's pretty good art right there. But Third story, Savage Lands, meh. Reds and tones again. Not really anything here. The fight between him and Carl. What the fuck is his name? Sauron. He's a pterodactyl man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their fight gets broken up because somebody's turning everybody to stone. They kill that guy and they're like, you want to get back to fighting? Sure, let's do this.
Sure.
So I think the best part about this comic was the announcement that they're going to continue this kind of thing with Carnage, Black, White, and Blood. So they're going to do some other hero lines, doing mini comics with different people.
I'm mostly gonna pick up the Carnage one just because of the cover.
Yeah. So are you guys big fans of the symbiotes, or are you just big Venom fans?
I mean, right now
I'm just a big Donny Cates fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, don't get me wrong. I think that those characters are some of the coolest ones that come out of the Spider-Man universe, but
yeah.
I think that sometimes they're used wrong. Like, sometimes they're done really well. I mean, I have all of their first appearances. I spent the money on it. I'm obviously a fan enough to do that. I have a big collection of the comics now, but
so 2 more. Birthright 47.
Still not over.
No, 47 out of 50. I might have liked this episode if it was a the secret agent Boomer, their whatever liaison. It was an episode or issue dedicated to his backstory. Excuse me. I probably would have liked it more if I was a bigger fan of him. He's all right. This was basically like the War Machine story.
Right.
Like, that's the whole thing? Okay. It's a good story.
Birthright, I'm just going to binge read when it's all out.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
really
more
good.
connective to, connective tissue to the next issue. And finally, Deep Beyond number 2. Ugh. Why? Why did I pick this up?
Yeah.
This is the lettering that just pissed me off. Every other word is bolded. There are spelling mistakes in here.
It's Italian, isn't it? Like, translated to English.
Yeah, but just simple things. Like, there's got to be some, English editor that just picks out this stuff.
Apparently not.
Issue 1 was just so...
Yeah, it's kind of disjointed.
Yeah, that was my problem with issue 1. Like, it spent so many pages devoted to characters who then died and didn't contribute to the story.
Yep, pretty much. They go to the secret base that's been left unattended because we didn't think anybody would be suicidal enough to go here. They open it up, and they basically take a sub. The place gets blown up, and they have to basically run into the last sub that's available, and they're off. They're gonna go rescue this girl. It's all right. I don't know.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay. For me, there wasn't much else to shout out about. I mean, I obviously finished the Green Lantern season 2, issue 12. Very strange. Ends on a very strange note. The artwork is very experimental, like I had said.
Yeah, I've heard it's got some very mixed reviews.
That's new.
It's Grant Morrison,
Yeah.
So I mean, at this point, it's very much, if you're accustomed to something that's a very strange experimental way of telling a story with a deep, expansive, nonsensical universe, then you're probably going to appreciate it. I've heard people say that this is their favorite thing that they've ever seen Grant Morrison write. I've heard other people say that this is some of the worst things that they've ever done. I've enjoyed it for what it is. I think that there's a lot of callbacks to really key moments in Silver Age comic books, and I think that that's what Grant Morrison succeeds in. I think that Liam Sharp has matured and decided on, he's finessed what he wants his art style to be, and it shows in this. So I will say that.
Liam Sharp, even within the last couple of years, since his Wonder Woman stuff, he's still grown as an artist, and he's been around for 30 odd years.
Well, it's not just that he's
industry.
Increased his pencils or something. I mean, he's changed his inks and colors. I mean, he has had a huge say in how he wants his work to look like now.
Yeah.
And it feels like...
And as well, working with Morrison, he's been able to really experiment. He did an issue where he painted it. Then he did an issue in Kirby-esque style.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no doubt in my mind that this has been a chance for him to really just grow. And I respect that. I don't know how to feel about it right now, but maybe I'll know in a year. I'll be able to look back on it and go, man, okay, I feel this. And then maybe I'll go back and read it and I'll be like, you know what? Yeah. Because as far as the way that you have the story move forward with the hero's conflict, with the way that they interact with each other. That this last issue had some moments that felt rushed, but it felt like a success, and that's an interesting thing to try to point out. The other thing I wanted to say was this came out last week, but I finally picked it up. The Peach Momoko Demon Days book. Now, having read this, I learned something. This is not an X-Men book.
Yeah, I read the first like 10, 15 pages and was like, yep, this is not for me.
So Peach Momoko is an okay writer, fantastic artist. The art
was very pretty, but just the story and it was just very strange.
I implore you, read it all the way through, because it does not end the way you expect it to. It's not what you think it is. There's not a single thing about everything about this surprised me. I went, okay. Oh, okay.
I read past the Venom stuff and like I just wasn't enjoying it.
Hear me out. By the time I got to the end of the book, I remember thinking to myself, this is a Peach Momoko Marvel book, not an X-Men book, and it's not set in the Shido era. It's not set in the samurai era of Japan.
Okay.
That portion of the book is. It does not end like that. Trust me when I say this. At least finish it and tell me what you think about how it ends.
Fine.
Have you read Fully Cully or seen Fully Cully?
Yeah.
It's not the same way.
FLCL.
Yeah, it's not the same way, but it's not what you think. Let me just put it that way. I'm gonna keep reading this stuff. The next one's gonna be a Black Widow story. But we'll see how that goes. I was really pleasantly surprised by this. I was surprised that I was able to get a copy because it's been selling out everywhere. Yeah. I think that's pretty much it that I have for comics this week.
Black Hammer.
Thank you so much. Black Hammer Visions was an interesting one. Jeff Johns and Scott Collins within the Black Hammer universe. This is a standalone issue number 2. Scott Collins' artwork is
questionable as always.
Questionable. The line work in specific is the thing that I have a criticism of because the characters already look kind of thin and loose in the first place. Fine. My issue is more that the inker for some reason has decided not to do heavy outlining. If there was heavy outlines that highlight the characteristics and features of some of these characters, the cabin, etc., I would probably be more okay with it.
Oh, that's really bad even for Collins. I just called it up now. That's
what I'm confused about.
Bad.
But the story is good. It's not Jeff Johns' best work I've ever read, but it's definitely something that I read and I was like, yeah, okay, that was good. And you don't need to know anything else about Black Hammer to enjoy it. You know immediately from the way that the characters interact with each other, how they respond, how it progresses, in order to understand any of the characters that are important to the Black Hammer universe. That's it. The story is about a serial killer who has kidnapped a young black man or child, and locked him in his trunk. Wants to go to this farm to try to basically chop up his body, you're presuming. But he ends up in Madame Dragonfly's cabin from Black Hammer, the Black Hammer universe. She is an interesting character, but you get a really strong grasp on who she is. But the thing that makes this good is that it feels like a comic book, and it feels like an old comic book with the introduction, the way it ends, the gimmicky storytelling experience of, like, say, Kid Batman was like a joke that they had made in the the Urban Legends story. Like, why am I called Robin? I could just be the Bat Kid or something. That kind of comic booky name dropping stuff succeeds in this.
Okay.
Yeah, like I said, you don't need to know anything about Black Hammer in order to enjoy the Black Hammer Vision stuff, because it gives you an idea of who they are.
Black Hammer is on my list, and it is something I desperately want to get around to.
It's becoming a huge staple in Dark Horse, and
it's great. Like, when I was considering getting into it, there were like the first series and the Age of Doom sequel, plus maybe 2 spin-offs, and now like there's like 3 spin-offs ongoing right now.
Yep.
And it's like, I'm like, how do I catch up?
I'm still waiting for Skeleton Boy and Skull Crusher or Skull Digger and Skeleton Boy to finish up because I haven't gotten my issue 6 yet. I don't know where that is, but oh well. Yeah, that's all the stuff that I read this week. I think we're going to call it good here. I think we did actually pretty good time considering it's the reviews.
Just a couple of things I want to mention coming next week.
Please.
Some exciting stuff. So we've got Nightwing number 78 by Tom Taylor, his first issue, and art by Bruno Redondo. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited. Yeah, we got Justice League number 59, which is also continuing Justice League Dark in the backup. We got Catwoman 29, Radiant Black number 2, which we're all looking forward to.
Oh yeah.
Speaking of these like standalone issues with like different colors in, we have Superman Red and Blue number 1 with a gorgeous Gary Frank cover, and also Ultra Mega number 1 from Image.
I'm probably gonna get that.
Not to be confused with Ultraman from Marvel,
who he looks very much like, which is funny.
Yes,
it's based.
They are very similar.
Yeah,
inspired by Ultraman.
Do we know when Alien by Phillip Kennedy Johnson's coming out?
It's either next week or the week after. Next week.
Okay.
Sorry,
it is?
The week after.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to call it good right there. That's our show. Thank you very much for watching and listening to the Cult of Comics podcast. I'm your host, Tyler Brown. I'm joined, obviously, by my friends and cohorts, Sean and Josh. You can find us on YouTube, and you can gently click that subscribe button. You can
caress it. Show
caress the subscribe button. You can very cautiously share our videos with all of your friends. And they'll be like, why did you send me this garbage? But you can also find us on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, all the podcast stuff, Pocket Casts, Breaker, not Stitcher. I don't know why not Stitcher, but we're not on there. And mostly you can find us on all these platforms because of Anchor.fm. Anchor.fm is the easiest way for you to start and work on and distribute your very first podcast. Anchor.fm is how we've been distributing our podcasts by linking our RSS feed, our social media handles, and it just does it for you automatically. It gives you transitions for endings, beginnings, middles, music that you can put into your podcast. It's a very simple, easy way to get started, and it doesn't cost anything. You can get the app on the App Store or on the Google Play Store today and get started right now. You can do a podcast outside while you're looking at a bear who's taking a shit in the woods, and you're like, look at that bear. But then you run away from that bear because that bear does not like to be watched. Per usual, you can find us on patreon.com for a Cult of Comics podcast. We have the $1, $5, and $10 higher level, where for the $1 or higher level, we will paint you a very bad picture and then sell it to you because
it'll be the same quality as my poster I've hung up behind me.
We will give you a poster that says poster just from us, all signed in some sort of weird Sharpie font. But you're
going to be hard, man. We're going to have to like fax the thing to each other.
That's the only way to do it. For the $5 and higher level, we'll send you a fresh Blood Boy right from the Queenie herself. It's something that we've either found in the backyard of one of Josh's many stashes of Blood Boys, or we can go to the Queen's place, which obviously Sean has very strong connections with.
This is going to cost me more than $5 a month.
For the $10 and higher level, you can come on the show. We'll have a conversation with you about you've been reading, some stuff that you want us to have a conversation about in the future, and we'll give you the key to the Discord, the gates of our
King in the Castle. King in the Castle.
Thank you very much for listening and supporting us.
Or Queen in the Castle. You could be Queen in the Castle, or whatever you choose.
The Queen in my castle.
Console.
Thank you very much for supporting us. Thank you for listening, for sharing, subscribing, and giving us $1. All hail and have an awesome rest of your day.
Follow me on Twitter at SeanWalsh747.
You can find me at Twitter at TCHBrown.
2 episodes in a row now, you've forgotten.
I know, I'm bad about this social media handle stuff, man. It's just not on my mind.
Terrible.
And then Josh, you will find lurking in the backyard, hoping for a fresh young Blood Boy.